Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Caffe Lena. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for joining us. We are thrilled to be able to welcome Joe Jencks back to Caffe Lena and to have you here for the show. Joe was here twice last year, and his audience in the room was me and Joe Duell, and that was it. And luckily we had a lot of people watching, a lot of friends watching online from all over the world. And I know I was just looking at the live stream that we just started up, and I know there are a lot of those people that are watching again tonight. So thank you for being here on there. We miss you in here. Wish you were here with us, but it's going to be a wonderful night. You know, Joe's music is really timeless. Both his originals and his interpretations of music from all across America and through labor, through suffrage movements, through across picket lines. Maybe not across picket lines, but on the picket lines. Yeah. Can't wait to hear Joe sing again. And don't forget, if you're out there watching, please make sure to visit the online tip jar. It got us through that last year without any audience, and it continues to make, it continues to make a huge difference with our limited capacity as it is now. So if you're able to do that, it really goes a long way. So thank you all for being here, and you've already welcomed him, but please, one more time, join me in welcoming Joe Jencks back to Caffe Lena.
Asked me here to tell you about my neighbors and my friends, to talk about the who and what, the where and how and when. But I won't give you anything you don't already know. But if you'd like, I'll sing that list of songs before I go. Let me sing you a song about the people that I love, the poets and philosophers, the workers and the wanderers, the ones who walk the picket lines, who dare to stand and fight, and the ones who hold their babies close and rock them through the night. Well, you say it's un-American to do the things I do. I sing for justice, liberty, and civil rights, it's true. Well, I say it's un-American to ask me how I vote, how I pray, or what I believe. But here's a song I wrote. Let me sing you a song about the people that I love, poets and philosophers, the workers and the wanderers, the ones who walk the picket lines, who dare to stand and fight, and the ones who hold their babies close and rock them through the night. In 1955, my friend and mentor Pete Seeger was called before the House Un-American Activities Committee. He was called to answer all sorts of questions about his music, about what he was writing and who he was writing it for and what it was about. He was called to answer questions about any political organizations he may or may not have been a part of. He was asked questions about houses of worship he may or may not have attended and who he knew that may or may not have attended. And after a while, well, the sum of Pete's answers was pretty much this. He gave a lot of answers, but I think they can be boiled down to about this, which was, gentlemen, I'm just a singer. I travel all over the world and I sing songs that serve to lessen the distance between people. As for these other accusations that you're making, well, I'm not entirely clear how to respond, but if you want, I brought my banjo with me to Congress today, and I'd be happy to sing some of those songs for you. Well, they denied his kind offer, and the questions continued. And his answers remained both succinct and a little bit vague. Finally, one of the congressmen in attendance said, "Mr. Seeger, are you pleading the Fifth Amendment?" And Pete looked at him very thoughtfully, and he looked over at his lawyer, and then he looked back at the congressman, and he said, "Why, no, sir, I'm pleading the First Amendment." If I had a hammer, I'd have her in the morning, I'd have her in the evening, all over this land. I'd have her out danger, I'd have her out warning, I'd have her out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land. If you want to send me to prison, I guess that's the way it'll be. 'Cause I won't give you fodder for your paranoid machine. If the price of my silence is shackles, well then fellas, take me away. For I will live to sing again and rise with a brand new day. Let me sing you a song about the people that I love, the poets and philosophers, the workers and the wanderers, the ones who walk the picket lines but dare to stand and fight, and the ones who hold their babies close and rock them through the night. La da 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 da, la da 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 da. La da 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 la da da da, la da 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 la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 la da 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 da. Let me sing you a song about the people that I love, poets and philosophers, the workers and the wanderers, the ones who walk the picket lines but dare to stand and fight, and the ones who hold their babies close and rock them through the night. Yes, the ones who hold their babies close and rock them through the night. Well, it's so great to be back here at Caffe Lena. And those of you joining us online tonight, thank you so much for being here. This is my only broadcast show in the entire month of August. That's both delightful and sad, but you know, there it is. If you had told me 6 months before the pandemic started that my career would be standing in a small home studio, a little 8x12 box in my basement, singing to the world and staring at a little green dot on my computer, I would have said you'd gone to sleep reading too much science fiction. And yet there we were. So this feels like a little bit of a celebration to me. But I'm so glad to have so many of you joining us, both in the room and also online from all over the country and Canada and around the world. This is a song I wrote after visiting Ellis Island, and then I was going down to the Kerrville Festival in Texas, and I heard that 4 Hopi had been detained for not having proper citizenship papers or green cards. And they're like, wait, we're Hopi. You get what that means, right? Like, we were here first. Where's your green card? And those two experiences sort of mushed into this song. It's called The Lady of the Harbor. distant lands. The tempest tossed with hopeful hearts and calloused hands reach toward the light, the torch hurled high, and cast their gaze upon the lady of the harbor. And she welcomes them with open arms. She says that my children here shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor. And so it was with my own kin. They sailed from Sweden and from France and Ireland, their earthly cares packed in their bags. They cast their gaze upon the lady of the harbor, and she welcomes them with open arms. She said, let my children here shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor. Now we're locking down the borders and we're filling up the jails, and we say they don't belong. How conveniently do we forget that we've all come to sing the same sweet song? Will the dream survive the strain? Will huddled masses have a chance to learn its sweet refrain? Or will we fall into our fears and turn our backs against the lady of the harbor? And she welcomes them with open arms. She says, let my children here shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor. And she welcomes them with open arms. She says, let my children here shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor. Shine on, shine on, oh you lady of the harbor, oh you lady of the harbor.
Thank you so much. This is a song I wrote while I was on tour in Ireland a few years back. I'm a dual U.S. Irish citizen. And I started touring over there because I grew up here, and I started touring there in 2007 because I really wanted to make that other piece of my identity a little more real to me rather than an abstraction handed down from one generation to another. And among the many things I found out is that the Ireland that my granddad left in 1914 and revisited once and only once in 1967, 5 years before I was even born, was a very different Ireland than what I encountered in 2007. So it was good to separate fact from fiction and history from the present moment. But you know, I think a place needs to be measured in narrative per square mile. Because when people are in Ireland, you know, you get this sense that Ireland is this vast and expansive place, you know, like as big as Texas. And the reality is the whole island, not just the Republic, but the whole island could fit inside the state of Illinois or Wisconsin twice with room to spare. And yet, you know, it feels massive. And I spent a long time trying to figure that out, and I realized it really was narrative per square mile. And when you figure that out, you know, like there's plenty of places in Texas that are just vast and huge and nobody lives there, so there's not a lot of stories to tell. But when you get all these people, some of whom have traveled all over the world and others have never been more than 10 miles from the place they were born, they have stories that go back so many generations there. And one of the, my people come from County Kildare, but I've really sort of fallen in love with County Kerry and the mountains there, and that inspired this song. It's called The Coming of the Years.
When I first came here to wander these mountains, my heart was tattered and torn. Ever the rover and all the world over, no land ever felt like a home. But here in the crags and the bogs and the valleys, I found some measure of ease, where the song of the wind is as sweet to behold as the beautiful rose of Tralee. And it's high up and over the mountains of Kerry that I love so dear. I don't know when I will see you again in the coming of the years. Now I have been blessed to live a good life. I can count my friends by the score, and I have shared meals and moments of kindness. God willing, I'll know many more.
I'm just going to start that verse over again because memory is so linear. It's just the way it is. I wish I had reading glasses for my brain. That's what I need.
I have been blessed, willing I'll know
There we go.
But when the burden I've chosen to shoulder is more than I can stand, I find that my thoughts wander back up to Kerry, that rugged and beautiful land. And it's high up and over the mountains of Kerry that I love so dear. I don't know when I will see you again in the coming of the years. When I have traveled all of my journeys and sung all of my songs, when I have given the best that I have and righted most of my wrongs, then take me back to the place that I love. Let me gaze out over the sea. Take me back to the mountains of Kerry and let my spirit run free. And it's high up and over the mountains of Kerry that I love so dear. I don't know when I will see you again in the coming of the years. And it's high up and over the mountains of Kerry that I love so dear. dear. I don't know when I will see you again in the coming of the years. I don't know when, but I'll see you again in the coming of the years. I don't know when, but I'll see you again in the coming of the years.
Thank you. You know, the first show that I did up in Door County about a month ago with, like, you know, audience, full audience, a big barn up there that's been converted into a concert hall, and the audience applauded after the first song, and I jumped. I flinched. I was like, oh my God, what's that? It was like dinosaur brain took over, like, you know, like primordial sort of, you know, yeah, just, yeah, Fish Stock is the name of that little summer concert series. And, there's an interesting chord.
Don't know how to keep on walking this line between my visions and the highway signs. I don't know how to keep on striking the spark to ignite the flames that will pierce the dark. But I'm already gone if I can't live while I'm here. Yes, I'm already gone if I can't love through the fear. It's awful hard to keep from being a wreck when I feel the breath of the reaper cool on my neck. It's hard to live inside the rhyme and the rhythm of the song, to respirate my gratitude and pretend that nothing is wrong. But I'm already gone if I can't live while I'm here. Yes, I'm already gone if I can't love through the fear. So I hang on tight and watch the slipping sands, try to hold the contradictions in the palm of my hand. For every grain that tumbles, there are more that remain. But the hand that closes to a fist loses all that it contains. So let it crack wide open, let this broken heart bleed. Let it soak through the soil and nourish the seed. Let the water from my eyes be a gift to the parched land, till all my sisters and brothers rejoice hand in hand. But I'm already gone if I can't live while I'm here. Yes, I'm already gone if I can't love through the fear. If I can't sisters and brothers, we must love through the fear. It's all about love. 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 It's all about love.
Thank you so much. Joe, could you give me about 5% overall more monitor? Just across the board? That would be grand. So, yeah. So there's a new infatuation in my life. It's a 1978 Fiat 124 Sport, little forest green convertible, and it's definitely a car for leisure, not necessarily speed. It's got antique plates on it, which disturbs me that there's something younger than me that can be called an antique, but that's a whole other thing. A dear friend of mine was selling it at a price that even a folk singer could navigate, and my sweetie decided to go in on it with me, and so it has consumed my consciousness of late just a little bit, so much so that I wrote a love song for a car.
124 sitting under the hood, dual overhead cams, the power is good. Tan leather seats and a fold-down roof, working class Ferrari, no night to be aloof. Pull out the choke and honey, turn the key on the dark forest green meditation machine. Woo! She's got a few knocks, she's got a few dings, got a few rattles, but the engine still sings. Loves to drive when the timing is right, wind in your hair and everything is alright. A little bit of love and some gasoline in the dark forest green meditation machine. Take it to the highway, take it to the road, let your cares go, honey, lighten your load. Chasing the sunset with the canvas down, had a bad day, this will turn it around. Rear wheel drive, 1800 cc's, horn sounds like the bugle boy from Company B. Sorry. Time stands still when you're feeling free, singing glory, hallelujah, and glory be. Nothing can cure a case of ennui like a dark forest green meditation machine. Ooh, 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 ooh. You can take up yoga if it helps you along, Buddhist meditation with chanting and song. Tai Chi, Shiatsu, acupuncture, Qigong. If it works for you, who's to say that it's wrong? But nothing can halt regression toward the mean like the dark forest green meditation machine. Take it to the highway, take it to the road, let your cares go, honey, lighten your load. Chasing the sunset with the canvas down, had a bad day, this will turn it around. A Fiat looks a baby fait accompli, driving this car decor esprit. Going together, going alone, turn the radio off and power down your phone. A magical ride, nothing here is routine, in the dark forest green meditation machine. Cruising like a star from the silver screen, in the dark forest green meditation machine. Thank you very much.
you know, there's some of those lines you'll have to see printed out at some point to get some of the entendre. Decor, D-E-C-O-R, decor esprit. There's a couple others in there that I realized after I wrote it, but an engineer friend of mine in Seattle inspired the song because he sent me a text after I picked up the car and said, "Fiat, fait accompli," and I was like, there it is. Thank you, Garrett. Yeah, and they're just moments, you know, like for a songwriter, a new song is like a $20 bill burning a hole in your pocket. You know, it's just, there it is. But Tai Chi Shiatsu Acupuncture Qigong. That was the line that just like downloaded from the ether. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go with it. I was privileged last summer to get a small grant from the Library of Congress Folk Archives and to do some research in the folk archives remotely and resurrect some songs that had sort of fallen out of circulation. I focused on 3 days in particular that John A. Lomax and his second wife, Ruby Tyrrell Lomax, spent at the Rayford Prison in Florida, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in 1939. And this is a song that I lifted off of a recording there. There was only one verse and a chorus, but Ruby had written what felt like a third verse that was part of the story. And it was clear because it came out of Christian scripture what the second verse would have been, if there was one. And what was great about working with the folks at the Library of Congress Folk Archives is that they said, no, this should all be a living tradition. You know, if it feels like there's a hole in something, it's possible they never recorded certain pieces. You're a songwriter, like make it fit the vibe, but run with it. And so I was pleased to pick this up because there were four fellas that sang this in the prison yard, but you know, it comes out of the gospel traditions that were born in Chicago, Thomas A. Dorsey and Mahalia Jackson, those folks in the 20s and early 30s. So by 1939, this music was starting to spread around a little bit, but the vibe behind the song was pure Motown. And that wouldn't come into existence for another quarter of a century, and yet it was still just in the spirit of the music. It was amazing to me. So this is called "O Ye Prodigal Son," and it is derived from the song that I lifted out of the archives in 1939. O ye prodigal son, O ye prodigal son, O ye prodigal son, go and be a servant of the Lord. Oh, I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home and be a servant of the Lord. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home and be a servant of the Lord. Was a prodigal son, he was a fall-away child. A father he wouldn't obey. So he left his father's house. He thought he was going astray. Oh, I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home and be a servant of the Lord. He was sleeping at night in a stable bare, begging by the side of the road, wishing only to be in his father's house, or just to carry a servant's load. Oh, I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home and be a servant of the Lord. His father saw him coming, met him with a smile. He
threw his loving arms around him, crying, this is my darling child. Oh, I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home and be a servant of the Lord. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home and be a servant of the Lord. Be a servant of the Lord. I'm gonna be a servant of the Lord.
You know, and in the way that so many songs that were lifted out of Hebrew scripture, out of Christian scripture, out of many spiritual texts, you know, they had a message that was on the outside, but there was another message on the inside. And for a group of prisoners in 1939 in Rayford, Florida, I imagine it must have been incredibly hopeful to just stand out there together and sing, I believe it, I believe it, I will go back home. Pretty literal. We're going to get a little bit funky on this one. This is another one from 1939. It was sung by a woman named Gussie Slater on Sunday morning on the 4th in the prison chapel. And Ruby brought the recording device into the prison chapel. And a woman named Gussie Slater sang lead, and this whole other cohort of women were backing her up. And she'd sing, he's a battle axe, and they'd sing, in the time of a battle, he's a battle axe, in the time of a battle, he's a battle axe, in the time of a battle, shelter in a mighty storm. And everybody sings shelter in a mighty storm. And since I don't have a whole ensemble up here singing with me, I had to bring my own battle axe. So don't be alarmed. You'll hear some very unfolky sounds coming out of this, but you know, it's, I guess it goes along with the fiat. I'm being corrupted, you know.
He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. Can no man do like Jesus? Not a mumbling word he said. He just walked right down to Lazarus' grave and he raised him from the dead. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. Well, Easter night he started back home. Stopped in Jerusalem while traveling along. Folks heard a doctor's got more treasures than gold. Doctor, can you feed a dying soul? He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. Had it not been for Adam, there would not have been no sin. Adam broke the laws of these commands. Now we got a debt to pay. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. When Mary was seeking for religion, she was only 12 years old. She was skipping over hills and knocking. She knocked at Abraham's door. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. Just like Abraham and Sarah, Mary had her loving son. She brought to the world a Savior, and now every battle's won. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. He's a battle axe in the time of a battle. Shelter in a mighty storm. Shelter in a mighty storm. Shelter in a mighty storm.
This next song was written by Luca Bloom, a wonderful Irish singer-songwriter, and I've been privileged to get to know Luca a bit in my travels over there, and I played a song for him that I had written about immigration. He said, I got one for you as well. And so he shared this song with me, and I immediately knew I had to learn it. It's just a beautiful song. It's called The City of Chicago, which happens to be where my granddad went once he got to the United States.
As the evening shadows fall, there are people dreaming of the hills of Donegal. 1847 was the year it all began. Deadly pains of hunger drove 1 million from the land. They journeyed not for glory, their motive wasn't greed. A voyage of survival across the stormy sea. To the city of Chicago, as the evening shadows fall, there are people dreaming of the hills of Donegal. Some of them knew fortune, some of them knew fame, more of them knew hardship. They died upon the plains. They spread across a nation. They rode the railroad cars. They brought their songs and music to ease their lonely hearts. To the city of Chicago, as the evening shadows fall, people dreaming of the hills of Donegal. In the city of Chicago, as the evening shadows fall, there are people dreaming of the hills of Donegal, of the hills of Donegal, of the hills of Donegal.
I'm going to do one more song here, and then we're going to take a little set break. For those of you joining us out in YouTube land, don't go anywhere. Take this moment to manage your personal needs. You do you, as they say, and come back in 10 minutes. We'll do. 10 minutes after the next song, not 10 minutes after now. You'll be early if you go 10 minutes after now, but you probably already figured that out. So come on, after this next song, take 10 minutes. We are also, there's a group of folk gathered in the room with us this evening, but we're also inviting donations. Caffe Lena is an extraordinary institution. It has survived many, many ups and downs for more than 60 years now. And Sarah Craig gets a lot of credit for that in the present moment. Please give it up for Sarah. But there's a whole team of people here. There's a whole crew of volunteers that makes this place run. There's a whole lot of folk that make contributions and tithe to this establishment annually that give to it. But tonight, I want to shout out a few other folks. We've got Joe Dool on the soundboard tonight. We've got Joel Moss running some of the other tech. We've got Reese Fulmer in the house tonight. He was our MC earlier, and he's helping out running the show. And it's just so many folks make this place happen. It's a labor of love for so many. So please be generous with your donations through PayPal or however you choose to get there. And I'm going to play one more song, and then we'll take just a little break. So I was driving from this area in New York to just west of Chicago one day, and I thought to myself, what would happen if Ray Charles and Dr. Seuss had gotten together for a co-writing session? What would come out of that? A very fruitful dialogue, I'm sure, between two incredibly creative people. But this song was my answer to my own question, and it kept me entertained most of the way to Chicago.
Well, I may not be the smartest man that ever walked on earth, and some of what's gone well for me might be an accident to birth. Oh, but deep inside the mystery surrounding me and you is something I have come to know and hold is deeply true. Well, you may be a woman from the right side of town, going out evenings in the finest of gowns. Ah, but one thing's for certain, you know it ain't news. Sooner or later, everybody sings the blues. Well, you may be erudite. You may be... Let's try that one again. That whole thing I was talking about memory being linear. Well, you may be erudite. Mm-hmm. high-priced jet. There we go. Well, you may be erudite. There we go. Or a real cool cat, high-priced jet setter, going this way and there. But one thing's for certain, no matter the shoes, sooner or later everybody sings the blues. Oh, lonely, we all get lonely sometimes. There's nothing anyone can do but hang on for just another day and hope to see it through. You may be ironic, you may be a clown, you may swear that you'll never wear your smile upside down. But one thing's for certain, whether you win or lose, sooner or later everybody sings the blues. Yes, one thing's for certain, you know it ain't news. Sooner or later everybody sings the blues. Yes, sooner or later everybody sings the blues.
Thank you. Back shortly for more. Thanks for coming.
All right, folks, we're going to get going again in just a second here. Real quick, I want to let you know about our schedules here. These are on all of the tables, and there are a couple more in the lobby and in the hallway on your way out. We'd love you to take one of these with you and come on back to a show, or catch one of the live streams coming up. There's a lot of great music that's going to be coming through on this stage, and we hope to be able to share some of that with you. You can also take one of the membership brochures if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what it means to be a member here at Caffe Lena, and how to support some of the other programming that we do, not just the headline shows, but some of the community programs, the music school, and some other things that happen through this nonprofit venue. So that really is all I'm going to say now. I'll hand it right back to Joe. For those of you online, I know that some of you have already visited that online tip jar, and thank you. And if you have not yet, please do so. It really, really goes a long way right now, and it will continue to for quite some time, I'm afraid. But thank you again for being here. Thank you all for coming out to the show tonight. Hope you're having a wonderful time, and hope you have a wonderful second set. So, Joe Jencks, everybody.
So 2 summers ago, about this time, the then President of the United States tried to buy Greenland. I thought this would be a big news story. I thought it would really get some traction. But a week later, he tried to reroute a hurricane with a Sharpie. And everybody forgot about Greenland because we were on to the next ridiculous thing. But my response to it immediately was something that fell somewhere between Tom Paxton and Tom Lehrer. And as I was channeling a few of my influences, this is what came out.
Up in the North Atlantic, there's a place that's quite well known, though not too many visit, even fewer call it home. Subjects of the Danish crown an independent state, but you can't procure a nation or just monetize their fate. It's not for sale, it's not for sale. You can throw a temper tantrum, you can rant and you can rail, but you can't have everything you want, you're not too big to fail. It's not for sale, it's not for sale. The Prime Minister of Denmark said this is quite absurd. You cannot purchase Greenland, that's the final word. You called the woman nasty 'cause she would not do your bidding. People all around the world say, man, is this guy kidding? It's not for sale, it's not for sale. You can throw a temper tantrum, you can rant and you can rail, but you can't have everything you want, you're not too big to fail. It's not for sale, it's not for sale. Now there is no fake truth, there is only fact or fiction. No bloviating blunderbuss can reconcile the friction. A tweet is not a law, and no order can be given to make a people sell to you the country that they live in. It's not for sale, it's not for sale. You can throw a temper tantrum, you can rant and you can rail, but you can't have everything you want, you're not too big to fail. It's not for sale, it's not for sale, it's not for sale, it's not for sale. Try Iceland, it's not for sale, it's not for sale. summer morning, front porch swing, a tear in grandmother's eye, telling me tales of my mother's childhood, how they got by. Years of war, years of depression, they barely made it through. She smiles at me and says that wisdom, let it carry on in you. Links in a chain unbroken, words of a prayer unspoken, invisible hands reaching through time. We each have a piece of the story, each have a share in the glory, and a chance to pass it along for those who remain. Links in the chain. Girl Scout cookies, PTA, baseball games in the yard, potlucks in the parish hall. My parents worked so hard. Now it's a marble stone on the edge of town where we bow our heads and sing. 40 years, 7 children, and some well-worn wedding rings. Links in a chain unbroken, words of a prayer unspoken, invisible hands reaching through time. We each have a piece of the story, each have a share in the glory, and a chance to pass it along for those who remain. Links in the chain. Cooking a meal, setting a place, washing our hands, saying the grace.
Well, you know, it just seems to be my blight tonight. Start that bridge again.
Cooking a meal, setting a place, washing our hands, saying our grace, adding our part to the story. Teaching a child, turning a page, singing a song, standing on stage, adding our part to the story. Links in a chain unbroken, words of a prayer unspoken, invisible hands reaching through time. We each have a piece of the story, each have a share in the glory, and a chance to pass it along for those who remain. Links in a chain unbroken, words of a prayer unspoken, invisible hands reaching through time. We each have a piece of the story, each have a share in the glory, and a chance to pass it along for those who remain. Links in the chain. Links in the chain.
There's a lot of reasons I became a folk singer, and I could spend the next hour going in depth about that. I'll spare you, because I like you a lot. We'll have that conversation another time. But if I were to position it at a single moment in time when that decision was made for me, it was when I first heard this next song. I was 8 years old, and my sister Jean got me a copy of Arlo Guthrie and Pete Seeger live at Carnegie Hall, a double album set released in the late 70s. And it just knocked my socks off. And I heard Pete Seeger singing all these songs, and I heard Arlo singing his songs, and I thought, yeah, I want to do that. You know, they were telling stories from all over the world. And in that moment, I discovered that music was a boat that I could sail out into the ocean of humanity and go to places through the music and travel through the music. And the music would literally carry me places. And I never imagined that I would follow so literally in the footsteps of some of my heroes. But 10 years ago, I did 2 week-long residencies at Carnegie Hall, and standing on stage at Carnegie Hall, singing there, remembering being 8 years old and hearing Pete Seeger and Arlo Guthrie sing to me through that 33 1/3 vinyl that was like the best Christmas gift ever, next to the Lego castle. To be clear, let's let's keep it real. It had a huge impact on me, and I still to this day love this song. It's my favorite Woody Guthrie song. And I found out why. No disrespect to Woody Guthrie, but he was known for recycling a lot of melodies. And this melody was written by a different fellow. Woody wrote these words in 1948, the plane wreck at Los Gatos Canyon. Marty Hoffman, a singer-songwriter and graduate student out in Fort Collins, Colorado, in 1959 picked up those words 21 years later. And he was doing some work with the farm labor workers. And he picked up Woody's words and penned a new melody, a bit of a waltz, Mexican waltz feel. And I suddenly understood why this is my favorite Woody Guthrie song, because he didn't write the music. Sorry, brother. I feel you. That's right. My other favorite Woody Guthrie song is the ballad of Pretty Boy Floyd, and that's great. That's bona fide through and through Woody. But the song is what started me on the path. People say, well, why did you become a folk singer? And sometimes I say it with admiration, and sometimes it's like, why did you become a folk singer? You know, but this is why.
The crops are all in, the peaches are rotting, the oranges are stacked in their creosote dumps. They're flying you back to the Mexico border to pay all your money to wait back again. My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money that he made in his life. My brothers and sisters, they worked in the fruit trees. They rode the big trucks till they took down and died. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosendita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. For all they will call you will be deportee. Some of us are illegal and others not wanted. The work season ends and we have to move on. 600 miles to the Mexico border. They chase us like outlaws, like rustlers and thieves. We've died in your hills and we've died in your deserts. We've died in your valleys, we've died in your plains. We've died in your trees and we've died in your bushes. Both sides of the river, we've died just the same. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosendita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. For all they will call you will be deportees. sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. Like a fireball of lightning, it shook all our hills. Who are these friends all scattered like dried leaves? The radio says they are just deportees. Is this the best way we can grow your big orchards? Is this the best way we can grow your good fruits? To fall like dried leaves and rot on your topsoil, to be known by no name except deportee. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. For all they will call you will be deportees. Goodbye to my Juan, goodbye Rosalita, adios mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. For all they will call you will be deportees. Yes, all they will call you will be deportees.
I grew up in northern Illinois. Many of you know that. A lot of fireflies there. And then I moved to Seattle. No fireflies there. It's when I discovered there's no fireflies west of the Rockies. Denver is about as far east as you can, or far west as you can see fireflies. And then I was down in Virginia. I was just early in my touring career. I ended up teaching at a folk music camp down in Virginia in the mountains. And I had never seen glowworms before, the larval stage of fireflies, and they're really weird at night if you've never seen them. They're really funky. And that's when I also discovered that fireflies come in many colors. Like we have like a very specific kind of quintessential yellow firefly, like storybook yellow firefly where I grew up. But they come in sort of shades of green, and down in Virginia, they're kind of almost a shade of blue, like an aquamarine kind of bluish color. And that just totally messed with my head. That's just not right. A firefly is yellow. That's just how it is. And it was just messing with me, and I was having a tough time anyways. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go sit on this promontory point and just watch the valley here at sunset and watch the fireflies and just kind of try and find a little grounding. And then a thunderstorm rolled in and obscured everything. It was like, yeah, go figure. Anyways, this song emerged out of that whole experience, but fireflies are at the center, and the inherent hopefulness that exists in that tiny little insect. The lightning strikes, the thunder rolls. There's a rumble in the distance. Love calls even when I am afraid. I feel it knock on my resistance. I still believe there are lights that shine, no matter what obscures my point of view. If I can't see the stars from where I stand, I guess the fireflies will have to do. How I wish my life were simple.
like when I was a child long ago. My sense of wonder could be held within a mason jar, and I was cradled in their glow. I still believe they were lights that shine, no matter what obscures my point of view. If I can't see the stars from where I stand, I guess the fireflies will have to do. One by one, I capture my dreams and try to hold them in my hand. But it seems they always slip away through the hourglass falling sand. As I sit here on this warm Virginian night, searching for a sign that's true, tiny beacons flicker in the darkness. They tell me that this storm will pass on through. I still believe there are lights that shine, no matter what obscures my point of view. If I can't see the stars from where I stand, I guess the fireflies will have to do. If I can't see the stars from where I stand, I guess the fireflies will have to do. The fireflies will have to do.
Sing another Ireland song for you. This is one I wrote in the summer of 2019, just about 2 years ago. I'll send this one out tonight to Andy Spence, the founder of the Old Songs Festival. Get up for her. She's out there listening somewhere. If she were in the room, this is what she would ask me to play anyway, so this is for her. Try to channel my OCD in useful directions.
By the banks of the island, the abbey story graves 10,000 nameless lay. Their faces forgotten, their stories remain to speak of unbearable pain. Their voices rise up as the wind breaks the silence. The trees all bear witness to shame. A blight comes from nature, starvation from politics. Through history, it's always the same. When the moon rises over Skibbereen, the most melancholy moon I have seen, do you think she remembers the sorrow she's seen when the moon rises over Skibbereen? 1845, potatoes first failed, but the people knew hard times before. So they pawned their belongings for food to survive. By late 1846, they were barely alive. Too weak from the fever and hunger and thirst to properly bury their dead. They were left by the roadside, dropped in the dirt, with hardly a prayer even said. When the moon rises over Skibbereen, the most melancholy moon I have seen, do you think she remembers the sorrow she's seen when the moon rises over Skibbereen? And who takes the blame for a failure so grand? There's plenty of guilt to go round. By time it was known how bad it would get, thousands were laid in the ground, in the ground. Some say the landlord, some say the crown, others the workhouse to blame. But by the next world or the new world, 3 million were gone, and a country was forever changed. Now the land and her people are thriving today, but there's a weight on the hills and the glens, and it's left to the living to remember the famine and swear to it never again. When the moon rises over Skibbereen, the most melancholy moon I have seen, do you think she remembers the sorrow she's seen when the moon rises over Skibbereen? When the moon rises over Skibbereen, the most melancholy moon I have seen, do you think she remembers the sorrow she's seen when the moon rises over Skibbereen? When the moon rises over Skibbereen.
For that very reason, in most Irish history books, modern Irish history books, it's referred to as the Great Hunger, not the famine. I remember my mom telling me, Kathleen Kilbride was her maiden name, and she told me that almost that exact line, that a blight comes from nature, that a famine is a natural occurrence from time to time, but starvation is almost always a result of politics. There's always enough food. There just isn't a will to get it to the people who need it. And that is still the case in so many parts of the world, I'm sad to say. So I encourage you to, both think globally and think locally. If there's a community organization that's doing work to help the underserved, to help people who are real estate challenged and looking for a meal, you might consider donating a little time or resource. It goes a long way, and hunger is a real deal, and a whole lot of people are still struggling as a result of the pandemic, and that's not going to go away anytime soon. So thanks for being generous, thanks for supporting the arts, but as the song goes, bread and roses, you know, we need the arts, but some people still need their bread too. So speaking of which, good Lord, that was a great segue, and I didn't even mean it. That's the next song on the set list. All right. I remember Hawkeye saying famously on MASH a couple of times, I did it again, I screwed up in reverse. There are many, many melodies that have been set to these words over the years. They were written in 1912 by James Oppenheim. He was married to a suffragette. He was an early male feminist, and he wrote this to support his wife and her colleagues in the movement for women's suffrage. And of course, 1921 is the year that women's suffrage was finally achieved in all 50 states. Well, it wasn't 50 then, but in all the states that existed then. And so we celebrate this year the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in this country, which is... This particular melody is an old piping tune, and I think it was John Denver, actually, surprisingly, that took these words and set it to this piping tune, Bread and Roses.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mills gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we battle to for men, for they are the women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from the birth until life closes, but for a sharing of life's glories, give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching, we bring the greater day. For the rising of the women means the rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler tend that toil where one reposes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mills gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, give us bread, but give us roses. Yes, the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses.
1919, the Winnipeg General Strike, one of the greatest labor actions in the history of North America. And very few people know about it, but it spurred on general strikes in Seattle and San Francisco and Chicago and Boston. And organizing tactics from that 7-week general strike in Winnipeg a little more than 7 weeks, were carried back across the ocean and were part of the organizing tactics used in the War of Independence in Ireland. It was a great movement. It was after a world war, and so many promises had been made to working people that were forestalled, and they said, well, after the war, and then finally the war was over, and people said, you know, now we're dealing with a pandemic, and they had to go through all that, so all these changes were put off again because of, well, we can't make changes in the middle of a pandemic. We just have to hold, you know, stop me when this starts to sound familiar. And the people just got fed up, and they said, no, that's not right. We shouldn't have child labor. We should have public education, you know. We should have equal pay for women and men. We should have health care. You know, like there's so many, and you know, they just walked out. En masse up in Winnipeg. All the workers in every sector just walked out. And they made a very bold statement. So my friend Mitch Podolak put together one last festival before he died in the summer, early fall of 2019. And the festival was over May Day weekend in 2019, and it was to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Winnipeg General Strike. And I promised Mitch a song, and this is what I came up with. I wrote it on the plane on the way up there. Yes, I am a procrastinator.
The year was 1919, and all around the world people started marching with their victory flag unfurled. We've shed our blood on battlefields, enslaved in deep dark mines. We rally to the banner, bread and roses, it's our time. Come gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. Europe and to Canada, across the USA, we cry out for justice and for fair and equal pay. All sisters and brothers and all workers here unite. We strive for one big union and defend our common rights. Come gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. From Halifax and Thunder Bay to the Fraser River shore, Seattle, San Francisco, and Chicago hear us roar. From Boston on to Dublin town are heard the people's cries. No more to drudge and idler when the workers organize. Gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. Though some of us were born of means and others not a dime, we spend our lives in service to a cause we hold sublime. All laborers and commonwealth, now let our voices say that one way or another we will bring the greater day. Come gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. Big Bill Haywood, Mother Jones, and Eugene Debs, along with Emma Goldman and Joe Hill and all the Reds, and all those fellow travelers who beckon to the call. An injury to one of us is an injury to all. Come gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. our struggle here, but sure as hell we'll try. For the future of our children, we are steadfast by and by. It's only when our minds are joined with the muscle we can stand and bring to birth a new world, arm in arm and hand in hand. Come gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. Come gather, fellow workers, and raise your voices strong. We rise today in Winnipeg to sing our victory song. We rise up all around the world and sing our freedom song.
This is an electric bouzouki, by the way. I don't know if I got around to mentioning that for those of you on YouTube or in the room, but yeah, it's legal in most counties. There are probably a few places where it isn't, but you know, I don't travel there.
January 15, 1929, born in the city of Atlanta. Just another preacher's kid singing in the choir. This kid had a vision, reach for something higher. 6 years old when segregation put him in his place. Started school and lost his childhood friends, questioning the order of society and race. Many deeper questions that one cannot escape. Martin, oh Martin Luther King, keep holding on to what you know is true. Living out the teachings, continuing to sing. Martin, oh Martin Luther King. Booker T. Washington High School was the place. He began to raise his voice on poverty and race. Headed off to Morehouse, a 15-year-old sage, chasing dreams of dignity beyond his youthful age. Martin, oh Martin Luther King, keep speaking up for what you know is true. Living out the teachings, continuing to sing. Martin, oh Martin Luther King. Studying the sacred word challenged him to grow. He headed for Montgomery toward a fate he could not know. City buses, boycotts, peaceful marches in the street. A bomb found thrown through a window, a crown of thorns laid at his feet. Albany to Birmingham, St. Augustine to Selma, Boston, New York City, Chicago and D.C., carrying the burden and the banner of equality till 1968, April 4th, Memphis, Tennessee. Martin, oh Martin Luther King, we will speak for what we know is true. Living out the teachings, continuing to sing. Martin, oh speak for what we know is true. Living out your teachings, continuing to sing Martin, oh Martin Luther King. Living out your teachings, continuing to sing Martin, oh Martin Luther King. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
This next song was written by Holly Near, but it's one that's really been a mantra for me throughout the pandemic, and it continues to speak deeply to my heart, and I hope it will to yours as well.
I am open and I am willing to be hopeless. What seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family, there is sorrow in my town, there is panic in the nation, there is wailing the whole world round. I am open and I am willing to be hopeless. What seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it hurts our eyes. I am open and I am willing to be hopeless. What seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty oak to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. I am open and I am willing to be hopeless. What seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. So lift me up to the light of change. So lift me up to the light of change.
Well, thank you so much for an extraordinary evening here at Caffe Lena. What a pleasure to be back here. To those of you joining us on YouTube, thanks so much for tuning in tonight, for dialing in on your computer or your device, however you've been listening. Thanks again to Caffe Lena, to Reese, and to Joe, and to Joel, and to Sarah Craig, and to everybody who's making this happen, all the volunteers. Please give it up for them. And thanks to all of you for continuing to support Caffe Lena and a whole lot of artists who have relationships with this venue throughout the pandemic. Truly, none of us would have made it through without your incredible support and love of the music and love of the people who make it. And I feel incredibly blessed to be a part of this community. And in the last 18 months, I have to tell you, I've always had great faith in what the folk music community was. But I have seen more solid evidence in the last 18 months of the incredible fabric, the nature of our community. And it's really helped me gain a deeper sense of appreciation and a sense of the immense privilege it is to be a part of this folk music community. Yeah. Thank you. Sans pandemic, I've been on the road for 22 years, and I've been making music professionally since I was 14. And every year I continue to do this. I think, wow, it worked. This is another song that I lifted off of those recordings in 1939 from the Rayford prison. And there are many blues artists that have covered this song, but they based it on a transcription that was only 2 verses that went in a publication in 1942. But going back and listening to the original field recording from 39, I lifted a whole bunch of other verses and extrapolated a few words here and there to fill in what was absolutely just simply inaudible on the recording. But it's a beautiful song that captures a certain spirit of defiance that I think has helped all of us move through the last 18 months. And it's called Take This Hammer.
Take this hammer, hammer and give it to the captain. Take this hammer, hammer and give it to the captain. Take this hammer, hammer and give it to the captain. Tell them I'm gone, Lord, tell them I'm gone. And if he asks you, was I running? And if he asked you, was I running? And if he asked you, was I running? Tell him I was flying, Lord, tell him I was flying. Captain, captain, this old hammer too heavy. Captain, captain, this old hammer too heavy. Captain, captain, this old hammer too heavy. For the likes of man, for the likes of man. Must be the hammer, hammer that killed John Henry. Must be the hammer, hammer that killed John Henry. Must be the hammer, hammer that killed John Henry. But it won't kill me, Lord, it won't kill me. This old hammer, hammer shine like silver. This old hammer, hammer shine like silver. This old hammer, hammer shine like silver. But it rings like gold, Lord, it rings like gold. Don't you make me wear these old cold shackles. Don't you make me wear these old cold shackles. Don't you make me wear these old cold shackles. 'Cause they wound my soul, Lord, they wound my soul. Lord, I'm coming to that Jordan water. Lord, I'm coming to that Jordan water. Lord, I'm coming to that Jordan water. Don't you let me drown, don't you let me drown. Take this hammer and give it to the captain. Take this hammer and give it to the captain. Take this hammer and give it to the captain. Tell them I'm gone, Lord, tell them I'm gone. Tell them I'm gone, Lord, tell them I'm gone. Tell them I'm gone, Lord, tell them I'm gone. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Let's maybe end with one that we all know. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? 'Cause I can't help falling in love with you. Like the river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things were meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, 'cause I can't help falling in love with you. Like the river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things were meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, 'cause I can't help falling in love with you. No, I can't help falling in love with you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.